Roughly 30% of the global economy that powers the global economy has to pass through a single, highly restricted stretch of water. If this passage closes, global supply chains stop. This is the Strait of Hormuz. It sits at the southern entrance of the Persian Gulf, serving as the only maritime exit into the Gulf of Oman and eventually out into the open ocean. Look at the borders forming the jaws of this exit. On the northern coast is Iran. To the south sits Oman. At its narrowest point, the navigable channel between them is barely 21 miles wide. Unlike the Suez or the Panama canals, no one dug this out. You can't bring in dredgers to widen it. Those sheer, natural rock walls drop straight into the sea, meaning the physical dimensions of the passage are permanent. Every day, an armada of Leviathan commercial vessels navigates this narrow gap, entirely dwarfed by the surrounding terrain. Because so much of the global energy supply is concentrated in this one tight space, it demands constant protection. The United States and several allied navies keep a continuous, heavily armed watch over these waters to ensure the transit lanes stay open. This massive military footprint continues a cycle established long before the age of oil. For thousands of years, whoever wanted to dominate the wealth of the known world had to figure out how to lock down this exact same patch of ocean. Long before crude oil, this exact route linked the earliest mercantile powers. Merchants ferried goods from India, through Persia, and into Mesopotamia, entirely dependent on the Strait of Hormuz. Ancient superpowers recognized the leverage immediately. The Achaemenid Empire expanded its physical borders specifically to swallow this choke point, allowing them to dictate the terms of trade and extract wealth from every ship that passed. By the early 1500s, European maritime fleets arrived to dominate the global spice trade. Portugal first seized the surrounding outposts, effectively establishing a toll booth on Middle Eastern commerce. Eventually, the British Royal Navy forced their way in. They overpowered rival European fleets to secure the region, ensuring safe passage for the massive volume of goods flowing back and forth from their colonial holdings in India. Silk, spices, or colonial textiles. The specific cargo changed, but the geopolitical math remained fixed. To hold economic power over the region, a state had to control this bottleneck. Then the 20th century arrived. The cargo transitioned to crude oil, and the Strait of Hormuz became the primary valve for powering industrial civilization. That extreme value turned the water into a target. During the Iran-Iraq War in the 1980s, the land conflict spilled directly into the Gulf. Both nations began actively bombing commercial vessels in a prolonged conflict known as the Tanker War. Iranian forces realized they didn't need massive destroyers to inflict damage. They deployed swarms of highly maneuverable, fast-attack speedboats equipped with heavy machine guns, utilizing the tight geography to hit targets and scatter. The geometry of the strait creates a massive tactical disadvantage for commercial shipping. A fully loaded oil tanker requires miles to turn around, making it a highly vulnerable target for these small, heavily armed patrol craft buzzing rapidly across the water's surface. When the Gulf War erupted in the early 90s, the threat escalated again. The international community responded by deploying heavy carrier strike groups and fighter squadrons to the region, establishing a permanent, high-tech security apparatus. The Tanker War and the Gulf War turned the strait into a live trigger wire, proving that conflict here could instantly paralyze global energy markets. Today, wooden merchant ships have been replaced by multi-billion-dollar warships. Modern navies continuously cut through these exact same waters, their decks bristling with advanced radar arrays and guided munitions. To guarantee that millions of barrels of crude oil safely reach their destinations each day, international frigates frequently run direct escorts. They physically insert themselves between the commercial vessels and the open water. We have built a deeply interconnected, digital global economy, yet its physical survival requires successfully navigating a few miles of jagged rock and saltwater. As long as nations pull energy from the Persian Gulf, they will have to contend with this immovable bottleneck. The Strait of Hormuz dictates the flow of global power today, exactly as it has for millennia.